breathe into this present moment. And as we begin to gently bring our awareness out of meditation and become aware of our surroundings, our body, and our mind, let us take a moment to inwardly speak a word of gratitude. Be grateful for your practice. Be grateful for that urge that brings you to your meditation space, that spark of awakening that draws you toward your practice. Be grateful for those who came before us, the ancestors who went within, discovered ways to expand and increase awareness of the inner realms and of our soul nature, and continue to bring that forward to the awareness of all people. And know that that discovery is the discovery of every human being in every lifetime. That those ancient seers who laid down these techniques and pathways for inner revelation are humans just like us, who sat still, looked within. We each have that same capacity for self-discovery, self-realization. And as we dedicate ourselves to the path of awakening, we witness our soul nature, our supreme consciousness, expanding and brightening. Let us dedicate ourselves this day, each breath, dedicate to awakening. Each thought, each activity, dedicate that to our full spiritual awakening, that incremental brightening of consciousness. And let us witness that as the light of all people, and send out our firm wish that all people awaken to their inner light. Let us seal our time of meditation with chanting Om, and send this prayer for awakening to all points in the universe. Peace. May our thoughts be aligned with Dharma. May our speech be aligned with Dharma. And may our hearts and our actions be aligned with Dharma. And so it is. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, Bhagavad Gita. I hope you are all well and thriving in your own space and your own life. Can you believe we're in chapter 8? I know there's 18 chapters, but being in chapter 8 feels like we've moved through something. And certainly we have. Let's see. We are in chapter 8. Verses, is it 25, 26? Yep, 25 and 26. And in Roy Eugene Davis's Gita, is it really 25 and 26? Today's the 17th, isn't it? All right. An esoteric teaching for us. This section is quite something. This is a teaching, a discussion on the inner experiences, using the sun, moon, and other references for imagining and experiencing the inner realms. And I encourage you to just take it in. I'm not going to read it all, but just take it in and meditate upon it without struggling to understand the references, but to feel them when you are in contemplation. Just try to feel them. I'll read 25 and 26, just the verses. And these are in answer to, let's see, what's Arjuna's question? In the very beginning, I think he says, what is, he's always saying what is Brahman, the absolute reality? What is the Supreme Self? What is karma? What are the domains and characteristics of the elements of the worlds and of the gods? And as we discussed before, these are huge questions with huge answers from Krishna, from the seeking soul. And in this particular section, the Lord is explaining that which determines whether or not practitioners of yoga reincarnate. 25. Smoke, night, the 2 weeks of the waning moon, the 6 months of the southern phase of the sun, then departing, under the lunar influence, the devotee is reincarnated. Smoke, hazy or unclear perceptions. The 2 weeks of the waning moon, perceptions due to reflected light of consciousness, are becoming increasingly obscured. The southern phase of the sun, the inner light of consciousness, is moving downward toward increasing involvement with lower chakra influences, which contribute to illusions and attachments to enjoyable sensations. Departing the body under these unfavorable conditions, the soul tends to remain involved with delusions and illusions and attached to perceptions and enjoyments of sensations. Thus, the inclination to return to the physical embodiment. There is always the possibility, however, that spiritual awakening can continue in the astral and causal realms without the soul having returned to the material realm. So when we study these teachings, we allow ourselves to just take in the words, the description and expansion upon their meaning from the teacher, meaning Roy Eugene Davis in this moment, and just allow it to unfold within us over time. I've always struggled with wanting to completely understand it once I've read it, and thinking I might sit with it until I understand it. You know, read it over and over again, look up the words, do a little journaling, and with the expectation that I'm going to completely understand it before I turn the page and go to the next verse. And it is when I get to verses like these that I say, oh, what a silly expectation. I mean, it can happen. I know it can happen that I am exceptionally receptive and that there's something within me that is opened and I get it. But I want you to know that getting it means getting that which is there for us in the moment. So even if I read this and I have an inspiration that seems completely unrelated, like the inner light of consciousness moving downward towards increasing involvement with the lower chakra influences, and in the moment that I read that, I remember, let's say yesterday, when I was looking at a documentary that included some really harsh images of people being mistreated, of ignorance run rampant, and it got in me, and soon after I went for my comfort food, not even thinking about it. I'm in the cabinet going, don't I have some potato chips in here? You know, where's my, whatever it is for you that is your go-to food that you know is not necessarily the healthiest food for you, but it sure feels good to eat. So, and I flash back on that moment and think, there it was. There was that darkness, that little bit of defeat that I call it when I feel defeated, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give into my lower self for a few minutes because I can't take it, whatever it is. That's what I needed to get from that reading, to remind myself that that is just the descent into the lower chakras. That is just me forgetting for a moment that I am bigger and more expansive than an emotion, that I can draw upon my inner strength, draw upon that light of consciousness and help it to rise by noticing, just noticing. It seems so simple but it's true that this path of awakening primarily is noticing, paying attention to what is going on within us at any given time. Because we know what to do with it when we notice it. But if we're walking around unconscious and not noticing, there's no way we can make a change. There's no way we can make a transformation if we can't see what's going on. So, notice. There is no need to dwell on the fact that this section is about when we're leaving the body, because we never know when we're going to leave the body. We never know. So the consciousness that is being presented here that we need to cultivate is the consciousness we need to cultivate in every moment, so that we are prepared for that unknown time. Not fixated on, I could die in a minute, I need to practice, but I need to practice, period. And then whatever life brings, we are prepared. I was listening to Yogacharya on the Yoga Hour, which I hope that you tune into whenever you can. And she was speaking with a Kriya teacher from Italy, and they were talking about how does Kriya Yoga help us in times like these? And whatever in the moment is times like these, because times like these, we have so much going on. Whichever thing in times like these that you're thinking about, or whatever aspect of the challenge of our times, how does Kriya Yoga help? And he said, simply, whatever comes, you're prepared for it because you practice. Whatever comes. So whatever's going on, we are prepared for it. And that, I believe, is what this section and these two, this section of verses is saying, is be prepared, practice. Be prepared, notice. "26. These two paths of light and dark are thought to be perpetually influential. By one, the devotee does not return to this realm. By the other, the devotee again returns." The cycle of forgetting and remembering, of energy moving up, energy moving down. Those two aspects of, they're the two extremes, and there's so much in between. But those two aspects, light and dark, forgetting, remembering, and knowing what to do to keep from dwelling in the dark. We know that it's an aspect of the energies of life. Think about the gunas and how they are always active, and that the tamas is, all of them are regulating aspects. So there has to be this play of all three to regulate processes in this realm. So, when you think my mind is racing, we add sattva, and in between, sometimes we have to add tamas guna to calm us down, yet on our way to sattva, right? So think of it as all energy, regulating energy, keeping things in balance. And how do we keep ourselves in balance? We notice where we're out of balance, and we take appropriate action to return to balance. It can be so simple if we remain focused throughout our day, throughout our life, on what our ultimate goal is, which is awakening and not returning to forgetting. And that's how I like to see this whole discussion about reincarnation. As Roy Eugene Davis always said, well, I've never met anybody who came back to tell us it was true. So, we don't have to really worry about whether it is or it isn't. We can, I feel that if I hold it as the forgetting and remembering, I'm not going to return to forgetting, to being in forgetfulness. I'm going to remain in awareness. I'm going to remain in liberated consciousness. And that's what I see as we're in full living, or we're in forgetting. And we can see that as the cycle, remembering and forgetting. So we can hold this complete discussion about reincarnation as being in this body, in the forgetting and remembering. And am I going to return to forgetting, or am I going to remain in remembrance? And then we don't really have to concern ourselves with whether or not it's about returning to this body. It's about returning to over-identification with this body, or returning to over-identification with this realm of material things, material existence. So, just return your awareness in this moment to what came up for you with these two verses. Letting go of how I'm holding it, and return to how it speaks to you, where you are in your practice, in your life, in your journey with the Bhagavad Gita, with your experience of yourself in our times. And then whenever you're ready, share from your heart experience.